Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 11 of Forget Your Warranty, the review series for Gran Turismo's aftermarket tuner car selection. Some for competition purposes, others for drifting, some just to show what the company is capable of. And this is kind of more of a show car than a competition machine. It comes with all the kind of toys that you'd expect from a show car. It's even got a games console where the back seat used to be, which is pretty cool. You can't use it, of course, but it's cool on the game. And the vehicle is based on the Infiniti G37, a car which I quite like. I think it's a pretty nicely styled vehicle and is an interesting alternative to some other coupes like the Fairlady Z and also stuff like the Hyundai Genesis. It's a good rival for those vehicles. It has more of a premium feel than the Nissan version, I think, the Skyline 350 GT or the 370 GT. And overall, it's a pretty decent vehicle to work from as a base car. It's got a decent engine, it looks the part, and it's already a pretty quick car. So the question is, does this vehicle, which is of course the high-end performance G37, take that to a good level, or is it more of a show car in the traditional visual sense? Well, this car to me is very similar in some ways to the HPA FT565 Audi TT Quattro. It's not as bad as that car in terms of wasted potential and ridiculous price, but it has some similarities. And the main similarity, I would say, is to some degree wasted potential. Because this car, on paper, is very impressive. This car puts out fully tuned from its 3.7 litre turbo engine 910 horsepower. That's pretty impressive for a tuner car. That does make it one of the most powerful tuner cars in the game. It also puts out 605 foot-pounds of torque, which is not bad at all, and despite the fact that the car is quite bulky looking, it's not overly heavy. 1,251 kilos is not bad at all. That's around 100 kilos lighter than a GT3 race car. That's not bad. The horsepower per tonne is also really high, 727, thanks primarily to that sheer power. The maximum PP is also really high for a tuner car. 629 is serious territory. That's up there with stuff like some GT machines and even touring cars. So on paper, it really does have all the kind of numbers that you would want it to have. And the price isn't ridiculous. This is a 200,000 credit car, and if I remember correctly, I think you can even win this in career mode. It's a paintable tuner car, which is relatively rare, and overall, you have to say, it looks the part. You may not necessarily love the body kit, but it's very eye-catching nonetheless. I even made a GT3 style replica of this car, well, not a replica, a custom build, and it looks the part. It looks like a GT3 style body kit. It's a convincing tuner car. So the question is, why do I liken it to the HPA Quattro? Well, unfortunately, like the FT565, this car just doesn't deliver on the truly massive on-paper potential that it really does have. With 910 horsepower in a 1,251 kilo package, especially on a vehicle which in effect has a lineage based in the Skyline, which turned into the Infiniti model later on, this car really has potential, but it just doesn't deliver on it. The top speed struggles to surpass 235 under its own power. The acceleration, although not bad of course, isn't really going to amaze anyone anytime soon, and the handling, although actually pretty good, again, feels heavier than the car actually is. So unfortunately, although it isn't as heavy as it looks, the handling does feel as bulky as it looks. And that's a real shame, because this car really does have huge potential in pretty much every way. The price is good, the power is excellent, the weight isn't bad, the horsepower per tonne, the torque, the PP, everything across the board is the exact kind of numbers that you would want to see from this car. It's also a premium, which isn't too surprising given that it is a newer model, but unfortunately, it just isn't that amazing. Now, to be clear, I'm not hating on this car, and I'm definitely not saying that you shouldn't buy one, or win one in career mode, or even use it if you do already own one. This car can be useful. It makes a good drift car. As I said, the acceleration is not bad by any means, and at slightly lower PP levels than, say, 629, it can even be useful. As I said, I made a GT3 style build for it, and it can compete with some actual race cars. So it certainly does have use, far more so in fact than the HPA TT Quattro, but it's more a case of being disappointed with the car. It's not bad by any means. In fact, I would go so far as to say it is a good car, but it could be great, and that's why I'm disappointed. Good is okay. Great would have been better. With so much power on tap, this could have been one of the quickest tuner cars in the game. It has far more power than the HPA Golf. It has significantly more power than the HPA Golf, the HPA TT Quattro, and a wide variety of other highly capable and very fast tuner cars. It's just a shame that the performance isn't as good as it really could, and I would argue should be. And that's kind of surprising given that this car originally was Japanese, and usually the Japanese cars are pretty quick. That doesn't pan out as much with this car, and to put it into some perspective, the standard equivalent of the stock version of this car, which is of course the Nissan 370 GT Skyline, which is exactly the same car underneath, is pretty much as quick as this, but it does it with significantly less power. So when the Nissan version, the non-aftermarket far less powerful version, is running similar performance to this, that's kind of a warning sign that this car isn't really delivering on what it should be capable of. Overall though, I would recommend trying to win this car in career mode and maybe even buying it. It's not a bad car to check out. Just don't set your expectations too high. But that's it for this pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.